That day, as I delved deep into my studies, an unsettling noise from my brother's room shattered my focus. A strange and elusive sound tugged at my curiosity, beckoning me to uncover its source. Compelled by an insatiable curiosity, I could no longer turn a blind eye. It was time to delve into the mystery that beckoned me. The door stood ajar, a whisper of an invitation, and with a racing heart, I pushed it open just a fraction more. What I witnessed left me completely speechless. My brother sat on his bed, clutching a photo tightly in his hands. A snapshot from my last birthday celebration captured the moment, a vivid reminder of the joy and laughter that filled the air. But what left me utterly stunned was his other hand, stealthily shifting in a secretive dance beneath the blanket. I stood paralyzed, disbelief coursing through me, my body heavy and unyielding like cold granite. Greetings, everyone. In the heart of a bustling city, a young woman named Emily stands at the threshold of her 20s, brimming with dreams and untold stories, ready to carve her path in the world. In our household, there are four of us, each with our own stories and secrets that intertwine to create a tapestry of life and love. My family consists of my parents, my younger brother, David, who is just 18, and myself. In the heart of the suburbs of Springfield, we reside in a humble abode where the ordinary meets the extraordinary in the quiet moments of our lives. Even without riches, our existence is filled with comfort and joy. My father toils in the world of construction, shaping the very foundations of our lives, while my mother navigates the intricate maze of her office job, weaving through the complexities of her day. They toiled relentlessly, pouring their hearts into crafting the finest life imaginable for David and me. David and I have shared an unbreakable bond, just 2 years separating us in age. We've bared our souls, exchanging not just schoolwork, but the weight of our deepest fears and secrets. Yet ever since David reached the age of 18, a palpable shift had taken place. He had become increasingly withdrawn. Even though a flicker of curiosity ignited within me regarding the change, I brushed it aside, attributing it to the usual whims of adolescence. Little did I know that this shift would set in motion a series of events that would irrevocably alter my perspective. That day dawned like countless others before it, yet an unseen tension hung in the air, hinting at the extraordinary events that were about to unfold. With my parents out for the night, the house fell into an eerie silence, leaving only David and me to navigate the shadows that danced around us. The morning slipped away as I meticulously tidied up, while the afternoon enveloped me in the depths of my studies. From a young age, I immersed myself in my studies, seeking out the hushed corners of the house where I could delve deep into my work undisturbed and focused. My room stands in quiet solitude, divided from David's by nothing more than a thin wall, where silence reigns supreme. That afternoon, as I delved into my books, strange noises began to seep from David's room, pulling my attention away from the pages. It was neither the familiar melodies of music nor the thrilling escapades of video games, his typical sources of entertainment. Instead, a relentless rhythmic sound enveloped me, drowning out all thoughts and making concentration an elusive dream. Setting my book aside, I furrowed my brow, curiosity gnawing at me as I pondered what he could possibly be up to. At last, I resolved to take a look. Time stood still as I found myself paralyzed, struggling to comprehend the reality unfolding before my eyes. A wave of shame and disgust surged through me, constricting my chest and stealing my breath away. David pivoted sharply, his gaze locking onto mine, his flushed crimson a storm of panic and embarrassment swirling in his eyes. "Sis, what brings you here?" he stammered, his voice trembling with uncertainty. With a swift motion, he yanked the blanket around him, clutching the photo as if it were a lifeline, his fear palpable that I might snatch it from his grasp. The silence that enveloped the room was thick and oppressive, wrapping around each breath like a heavy shroud. It was as if time itself had come to a standstill, the world around us suspended in an eerie stillness. My heart raced, each beat echoing in my ears, while a constricting grip around my throat silenced my voice. David averted his eyes, his hands quaking as they gripped the photo tightly, Kitty. I finally found the courage to speak, my voice trembling with a whirlwind of confusion and fury. I stood at the edge of the precipice, the wind howling around me like a restless spirit. Below, the churning waters crashed against the jagged rocks. There roared a symphony of chaos. My heart raced, each beat echoing the uncertainty that gripped my soul. In that moment, I was both terrified and exhilarated, teetering on the brink of the unknown, ready to leap into the abyss of adventure that awaited me. "I can explain," David mumbled, his face flushed as he cast his gaze downward, the weight of unspoken words heavy in the air. "Could you clarify that? How could one even begin to unravel this mystery?" A surge of shame and heartbreak crashed over me, and I snapped, unable to contain the turmoil within. David stood frozen, words trapped in his throat, the weight of silence pressing down on him. The air thickened around us, and in that moment, an insurmountable chasm opened up, leaving me acutely aware of the gulf that now separated us. I felt the urge to burst out of the room, yet a deep, gnawing need for answers held me back. "I'm so sorry, sis." Uncertainty loomed like a shadow, wrapping around me, leaving me in a haze of confusion. I couldn't grasp the reason behind it all. "I didn't mean to," David murmured, his voice fading into the silence as his eyes fell to the ground, heavy with unspoken regret. His words echoed in my mind, stirring a tempest of emotions within me. Rage surged within me, yet the palpable shame and fear radiating from him left me grappling with how to respond. Silently, I pivoted and exited the room, my heart racing fiercely as if it were on the verge of exploding. As I stepped into my room, I closed the door with a soft click and pressed my back against the wall, fighting to regain control of my ragged breaths. Yet no matter how fiercely I fought against it, the scene I had just witnessed replayed in my mind with relentless clarity, a haunting specter that refused to let me go. Questions surged through my mind, each one darker and more disquieting than the one before. What had driven David to make that choice? Why was it me? Had I unknowingly crossed a line that led him to believe this about me? The boy who once called me Sister Emily with such warmth, the little brother who would rush into my arms when fear gripped him, now felt like a distant memory, a stranger in the shadows of my heart. The terror reflected in his eyes and the frantic movements I had witnessed were a stark contrast to the David I believed I understood. As dusk settled, I remained confined to my room, trembling with an unease that kept me from stepping into the world beyond my door. David remained ensconced in his room, the world outside fading into a distant memory. The house loomed, cold and oppressive, as if the very air had shifted in the span of a single afternoon. My mind was a chaotic storm, unable to latch onto a single thought. The images haunted my thoughts, an unrelenting loop that refused to fade away. A chilling fear slithered into my heart, entwined with an enigmatic sensation that was utterly foreign to me. A tumultuous storm of emotions surged within me, far beyond mere confusion or disappointment. A disquieting unease settled deep within me, gnawing at my sense of self. In that moment, a chilling truth washed over me. My carefree younger brother, David, held feelings for me that shattered the sacred boundaries of family. Emotions surged within me, a tempest I couldn't begin to navigate. A tumultuous storm raged within me, a blend of disgust and fury at how our once unbreakable sibling bond had twisted into something unrecognizable. Yet amidst that chaos, I found myself drawn to the intricate emotions swirling in David's eyes, a complexity that beckoned for understanding. A whirlwind of confusion swirled around me. Hesitation gripped my heart, and an intensity enveloped me, leaving an unsettling chill in its wake. I found myself grappling with the unsettling thought that perhaps I had unwittingly forged a chasm that David had misconstrued, or if this was a force entirely beyond my grasp. That night, I found myself wide awake, my gaze fixed on the ceiling above. A haunting blend of fear, sorrow, and unease clawed at my insides, rendering any semblance of peace utterly elusive. David's eyes haunted me, the memory of that fateful moment looping endlessly in my mind, as vivid and tormenting as a nightmare I longed to flee from. As dawn broke, I stirred from my slumber, forcing myself to don a mask of normalcy, even as the weight of the night lingered in the shadows. David stepped out of his room, his gaze averted, silence hanging heavily between us like an unspoken tension. His eyes brimming with confusion and a palpable sense of avoidance radiated a desperate longing to escape the unfolding chaos entirely. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, our parents returned, their laughter echoing through the house, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within its walls. I forced a smile, my heart racing as I prepared to respond to my mother's familiar inquiries, each word feeling like a fragile mask over the brewing chaos beneath. Yet a weight pressed down on my heart throughout the entire experience. David lingered at the dining table, enveloped in a heavy silence. His gaze was fixed downward, the weight of unspoken thoughts pressing on him as he hastily consumed his meal. Without a word, he vanished back into the shadows of his room, leaving an air of mystery in his wake. In the days that followed, he withdrew into the shadows of his room, emerging only for fleeting moments to satisfy his hunger, the world outside fading into a distant memory. Even then, he averted his gaze, as if fleeing from the weight of his own guilt and shame. Uncertainty gripped me as I faced the unfolding chaos, unsure of how to navigate the storm that surrounded me. The unsettling sensation clung to me like a shadow, but above all, my thoughts were consumed by concern for David. He was my dearest companion, and the thought of this driving and unbridgeable chasm between us filled me with dread. The weight of the silence stretched on, thick and suffocating, wrapping around them like a shroud. On a hushed evening, as my parents lay in deep slumber and the house held its breath, the only sound was the relentless ticking of the clock. It was then that I resolved to confront David. I emerged from the confines of my room, my heart racing as I faced his door, a threshold to the unknown. A thin sliver of light seeped through the crack, a silent testament to his wakefulness. With a deep breath that felt like the calm before a storm, I rapped my knuckles softly against the door. "David, may I enter?" I whispered, my voice a tender caress, softer than ever before. After a tense pause, his uncertain voice broke through the stillness. "Step inside." I pushed the door open, revealing David slumped on his bed, his back pressed against the wall, eyes cast downward in a heavy silence. The air in the room was thick with tension, an unseen wall looming between us, a boundary neither of us had the courage to breach. "David," I began, perched on the edge of the bed, a deliberate space lingering between us. "I need to share the events that unfolded." He cut in suddenly, his voice quaking with intensity. "Don't bring it up again," he said, his voice low, turning his face away as if the very mention of it was too painful to bear. Regret weighs heavily on my heart, and I can't escape the truth. I was wrong, and for that I am truly sorry, but I refuse to listen to a single word you utter. As I gazed at him, a deep ache settled in my heart. This was not the vibrant and resilient David I once recognized. This was a soul battered and adrift in a sea of despair. "I'm not angry with you, David," I murmured, my voice soft and soothing. I yearned to unravel the mystery of why it all unfolded the way it did. And above all, I can't bear to watch you retreat into this isolation. No matter the distance or the trials we face, you will always be my little brother, and our bond as family remains unbreakable. David stood frozen, a shiver coursing through his shoulders. After a moment, he whispered, "I don't know." Uncertainty gnawed at me, a shadow lurking in the corners of my mind. I couldn't grasp the reason, and it left me adrift in a sea of confusion. It was inevitable, a force beyond my control, and I found myself powerless to prevent it. "As your eyes fell upon." His voice trembled, teetering on the edge of despair, as if the weight of his emotions threatened to spill over into tears. His pain radiated through the air, a heavy weight that pressed down on my chest, leaving me breathless and aching in ways I couldn't articulate. I remained silent, allowing him the time he needed to navigate the storm of his feelings. After a moment of silence, David's voice broke through the stillness, raw and filled with emotion. "I fear the thought of you harboring hatred towards me. Despite the weight of my conscience, my heart races uncontrollably at the thought of you. Regret gnaws at my insides, a relentless tide of self-loathing that I can't escape. I fear the shifting tides that could alter the bond we share." His words resonated with raw honesty, steeped in turmoil, leaving me in a state of inner conflict. Amidst the chaos swirling around me, clarity eluded my grasp, yet one undeniable truth anchored my thoughts. David didn't require a flawless sister. He needed someone who could stand by him and guide him through the storm. I sat there, the space between us charged with tension, a delicate thread poised to break at the faintest movement. David's head hung low, his fingers clutching the blanket with a fierce intensity, as if battling a tempest of emotions swirling within him, threatening to break free. "David," I whispered, my voice trembling, yet filled with warmth. As my hands settled on his shoulders, I could sense the tightness coiled within him, a palpable tension that spoke volumes. "I wish for you to see the light within yourself. Though we stand on the edge of uncertainty, I believe in our strength. Let us confront this challenge side by side and emerge stronger on the other side." David's gaze met mine, his eyes a storm of red, brimming with turmoil and unspoken battles. "Do you truly mean it? Do you truly not harbor any hatred towards me?" he asked, his voice quivering, a desperate plea hanging in the air. I nodded, a profound heaviness settling in my chest as my words hung in the air. "I'm determined to guide you through this, David. I'll be right here, waiting for you, ready to step in whenever you call." David locked his gaze on mine, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. Then, without warning, he pulled me into a fierce embrace, as if the very act of holding me close would tether me to him forever. I remained steadfast, refusing to let go. With a tender touch, I traced my fingers along his back, a silent gesture of solace that felt both necessary and uncertain. "Sis?" he whispered, his breath a tantalizing caress against my ear. Uncertainty gnaws at me, yet I find myself unable to pull away. My body tensed, yet I remained rooted in place. David hesitated, his eyes filled with confusion and regret. I took a step back, firmly reinforcing the boundaries between us. As his lips brushed against mine, I surrendered completely. The kiss lingered, a delicate yet fervent exchange, as if it unleashed the torrent of emotions we had both tightly sealed away. In that instant, every barrier that separated us vanished into thin air. A sense of dread washed over me, a whisper in the back of my mind that this was wrong. Logic roared within me, a relentless reminder that we were treading on forbidden ground, a realm where boundaries should never be shattered. Yet my heart, brimming with empathy and an intense longing to alleviate his suffering, overpowered my better judgment. David had plunged into an abyss of despair. And as I weighed the options, I told myself that if this was the only path to rescue him, then the price was a small sacrifice to make. As my fingers brushed softly against his back, the distance that once separated us dissolved into nothingness. David's eyes met mine, filled with a mix of guilt and vulnerability, as if searching for forgiveness rather than permission. As his lips brushed against mine, tender, yet charged with an intensity that took my breath away, I realized we had crossed a threshold from which there was no turning back. As night fell, the silence between us grew heavier, filled with unspoken regrets. We were both lost in our own turmoil, struggling to find a way back to the bond we once shared. A heavy silence fell between us, filled with unspoken regrets and the weight of a line we had almost crossed. As the tension dissipated, I stood up, my heart heavy with guilt. I straightened my clothes, trying to compose myself after the emotional turmoil, and slipped out of the room, the weight of what had just transpired lingering in the air. David remained silent, the weight of unspoken thoughts hanging heavily in the air. He lay on the bed, utterly still, his eyes barely open as if he were adrift in a tempest of chaotic thoughts. I forged ahead, refusing to glance over my shoulder. As I stepped into my room, I sank onto the edge of my bed, weariness washing over me like a heavy tide. My body was weary, yet it was the burden on my soul that bore down the most heavily. Doubt gnawed at me, a relentless whisper in the shadows of my mind. Yet a flicker of hope ignited within, urging me to believe that this decision might be the key to guiding David back from the abyss. The dawn broke, and I stirred from a restless sleep, my body and spirit heavy with exhaustion. The echoes of the previous evening clung to me like shadows, as if I had fought a relentless battle that stretched into the dark hours of the night, leaving my mind in a fog of distraction. At last, I made the choice to cast everything aside. Chapter 1. Regardless of the trials that had unfolded, the relentless march of life pressed onward. I had to confront David to discover if my choice had finally delivered the solace I so desperately sought. My heart pounded in my chest as I stepped into the living room, but the scene that unfolded before me took me completely by surprise. David lounged on the sofa, his eyes sparkling with a familiar light, and a gentle smile graced his lips reminiscent of days gone by. "Morning, sis," David greeted with a bright smile, his voice flowing effortlessly like a gentle breeze. Time seemed to stand still as I found myself paralyzed, grappling with the weight of my uncertainty. The David standing before me was a stark contrast to the shadowy silhouette I had encountered just hours earlier. His eyes, once clouded with gloom and pain, now sparkled with a newfound light. He appeared just like the carefree younger brother I had always cherished, as if the weight of all those heavy emotions had simply evaporated into thin air. As my uncertainty hung in the air, David flashed a knowing smile and playfully teased me. "What troubles you? Your exhaustion is palpable. Restless night, was it?" I plastered a smile on my face, desperately attempting to conceal the storm raging within me. "Oh, I'm perfectly fine. I'm just a bit weary," I responded. David approached, his footsteps echoing in the silence, and laid a firm hand on my shoulder. His eyes shimmered with a deep, heartfelt gratitude. "Your gratitude means the world to me." "I believe I'm all right now," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "Last night was a struggle, I know that, but I'm feeling a surge of relief now." His words stirred a tempest of conflicting emotions within me. A wave of relief washed over me, knowing my actions had helped David break free from his torment. Yet lurking in the shadows of my mind, guilt clawed at my conscience, refusing to let go. Once David stepped out, I found myself enveloped in solitude, my mind swirling with the weight of all that had transpired. The sight of his happiness wrapped around me like a warm blanket, yet the heavy toll of the journey lingered in the shadows, a constant reminder of the sacrifices made to reach this moment. I vowed to myself that it would never happen again. David had fought his demons, and I was determined to rekindle the bond we once shared. Still, the haunting question clung to my mind, refusing to let go. Could I genuinely wipe away the scars of my past errors? From that moment onward, it felt as if the world had settled back into its familiar rhythm between us. David and I never spoke of that night again, acting as though it had vanished from existence. David's laughter echoed in the air, his voice bubbling with warmth as he called me sister, embodying the same carefree spirit that had always drawn me in. He appeared to have finally shed the weight of the emotional burden that had long haunted him. Watching him reclaim his former self offered a flicker of solace, yet beneath the surface, the guilt lingered, an unyielding shadow that clung to me relentlessly. Each time David met my gaze with those serene eyes, a question gnawed at me. Had he truly forgotten, or was he concealing the truth to shield me from more uncomfortable moments? As the days unfolded, our interactions held a steady rhythm, seemingly untouched by the passage of time. David frequently unveiled his visions for the future, revealing the ambitious goals he yearned to chase. I leaned in, my gaze steady, offering quiet nods and gentle encouragement whenever the moment called for it. In those haunting moments, the memory of that fateful night surged back, a vivid reminder of the boundary we shattered, a line that should have remained unbroken. One afternoon, as we lounged in the living room, David spun a tale that had me in stitches, laughter erupting from deep within me. He turned to me, his eyes shimmering with an unexpected softness that sent a shiver down my spine. "You look beautiful when you smile," he whispered, his voice barely breaking the silence between them. I momentarily stiffened, then willed myself to adopt a nonchalant demeanor. "Oh, stop flattering me," I replied, my voice tinged with a hint of strain. He offered a smile, a fleeting glimpse of something unspoken. Yet the silence that followed hung heavy in the air. The conversation flowed on, oblivious to the weight of the moment, as if the world had not shifted at all. Yet an insatiable curiosity gnawed at me, compelling me to unravel the mysteries lurking within David's thoughts. Was it really the end for him? Or was he grasping at something that neither of us should dare to keep? Though David seemed to glide forward with ease, I found myself anchored in the past, unable to escape its grip. Every night as I lay in bed enveloped by solitude, the haunting memories of that fateful evening surged forth, wrapping around me like a suffocating shroud. Questions swirled in my mind like a tempest, each one echoing the haunting thought, if given the chance to rewind the clock, would I dare to choose the same path once more? The answer remained shrouded in mystery. Relief washed over me as I realized David had finally conquered his emotional turmoil. Yet a heavy weight of guilt clung to my heart, refusing to let go. I had crossed a line that was never meant to be breached. Every time I looked at Nathan, I was reminded of the trust I had jeopardized, a burden that grew heavier with each passing day. Nathan stands at the edge of a precipice, his mind swirling with confusion and uncertainty. The events that unfolded remain a blur, shrouded in mystery. What transpired? The questions echo in his mind, each one more haunting than the last. His unwavering love only made my guilt sharper, a painful contrast to the betrayal I had allowed to happen. Fear grips me, a cold hand around my heart, as I stand on the precipice of truth. The thought of losing everything I hold dear sends shivers down my spine, while the delicate equilibrium I've painstakingly restored with David hangs in the balance, fragile as glass. I hesitate, caught in a web of uncertainty, knowing that one wrong move could shatter it all. Yet I urge myself to press on, to forge ahead into the unknown. What has been done is irrevocable. It's irreversible. I will do everything in my power to ensure that nothing like this ever occurs again. David seemed to have found peace again, his laughter returning like it used to be. He spoke of his future with renewed energy, and I clung to the hope that he had truly moved past the darkness. Witnessing him in this state offers me a flicker of solace, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, my choice was the right one, at least for him. Yet for me, the weight lingers, enveloping my existence in an inescapable darkness. I've come to embrace the reality that bearing this burden is the cost I must endure. In the face of adversity, I understand that I must press on, embracing my duties as both a wife and a sister. Every day, I battle against the relentless tide of negative thoughts, desperately seeking the elusive paths that might heal my wounded heart. I understand that to safeguard the life I cherish, I must resist the pull of these haunting memories that threaten to drown me. As I delve into the shadows of my past, a stark realization emerges. My most profound error lay in surrendering my emotions to overpower my reason. I concealed the truth with myself or with those I hold dear. Rather than facing the depths of my loneliness and seeking a healthier escape, I chose to wander down a darker road, a wound that etched itself deep into my soul, forever altering the landscape of my heart. In the intricate dance of marriage and relationships, the threads of honesty and open communication weave a tapestry that holds everything together. Turning a blind eye to personal struggles or bury them deep within only serves to amplify their weight, transforming them into shadows that loom ever larger. I should have reached out to Nathan from the very start, rather than trying to shoulder it all alone. I should have revealed the depths of my longing for him, his unwavering care, the deep bond that tethered them together. In my failure, I not only inflicted pain upon myself, but also shattered the bond I shared with David. What I've discovered is that emotions, no matter how intense, must be tamed. When they falter, they can plunge us into a whirlwind of poor choices, robbing us of our tranquility and casting shadows on the lives of those we hold dear. Nothing holds enough value to warrant the sacrifice of your integrity, your morals, or your self-respect. Embrace the truth of your emotions. Do not hide or stifle your negative emotions. Confide in someone you trust deeply, particularly your partner or a cherished loved one. Confronting challenges directly unveils the path to true solutions. Honor the boundaries that define every relationship. Boundaries hold the key to survival. They anchor us, shielding us from the tempest of unchecked emotions that threaten to obscure our judgment, steering us toward choices we might lament for eternity. In moments of loneliness or overwhelming stress, turn to the invigorating embrace of healthy outlets. Let the rhythm of exercise guide you. Dive into the passion of a cherished hobby, or reach out to a friend whose voice can lift the weight from your shoulders. Seek out a path that will guide you through the storm, something that will anchor your spirit and help you navigate the turbulent waters of your emotions. Resist the suffocating grip of loneliness that tempts you into making choices you'll regret. Grasp the profound significance of marriage. It transcends mere love. It revolves around unwavering commitment, deep-seated trust, and the weight of responsibility. Do not allow fleeting obstacles to shatter the bond forged through years of connection. My story unfolds as a powerful lesson, rich with meaning and insight. In moments of confusion and doubt, I wish for others to take a breath, reflect deeply, and reach out for wisdom instead of succumbing to despair. Do not allow momentary missteps to shatter the foundations of what you have tirelessly crafted. Here is where my tale reaches its conclusion. I appreciate each of you for being here as I share my deepest truths. I yearn for my journey to offer profound insights that resonate with others. Parting ways, we bid adieu.